Good evening, and welcome back to Blank Space. I'm Matt Blank, and this is my space. Tonight we're bringing you the latest headlines from the USA, the Philippines, and around the world. But before we begin, I want to remind our viewers that here at Blank Space, we are dedicated to 100% accurate news reporting. No fake news here, folks. We fact-check all our segments and stories to ensure we're reporting the full truth and nothing but the truth. So sit back, relax, and let's jump right in. Breaking news. Joe Biden drops out of the U.S. presidential race as Kamala Harris takes over. Also, Israel's city of Tel Aviv suffers casualties after a successful terror attack by Houthi rebels. We have the latest on these stories and more on the top stories of the last week. Let's take a look. In breaking news, a terror attack has occurred in Tel Aviv, Israel, carried out by Houthi rebels. This incident marks a significant escalation in tensions in the region. Reports indicate that the attack involved a series of coordinated strikes targeting civilian areas, resulting in multiple casualties and injuries. Eyewitness accounts describe scenes of chaos, panic, and emergency services rushing to the scene. Eyewitnesses say, "We heard explosions and saw people running in every direction. It was terrifying. We just wanted to get to safety." The Houthi rebels, who are primarily based in Yemen, have claimed responsibility for the attack, stating it was a retaliation against Israel's actions in the region. This declaration raises concerns about the potential for further violence and instability in an already volatile area. Israel responded by launching a missile attack against a Houthi military oil installation in Yemen. Let's take a closer look at the details surrounding this attack and its implications for both Israel and the broader geopolitical landscape.
Breaking overnight, one person is dead and several others injured in a drone attack on the Israeli city of Tel Aviv. Deborah Pata has more.
The incident occurred just after 3 this morning and was captured on camera as the drone headed towards the city. It pierced through Israel's air defense systems and exploded in central Tel Aviv, just a few steps away from the U.S. consulate, although it's not clear at this stage whether this was indeed the target. We spoke to eyewitnesses who had just returned from a night out partying and were still up chatting. They say they saw something flying towards them, and then a massive fireball lit up the street. Shards of shrapnel rained down, killing one man and injuring at least 10 people, shattering windows of shops and apartment blocks in the residential neighborhood.
The IDF had vowed to respond to hundreds of Houthi attacks on Israel. And this was the retaliation.
The port we attacked is not an innocent port. It was used for military purposes. It was used as an entry point for deadly weapons supplied to the Houthis by Iran. They used these weapons to attack Israel, to attack the countries of the region, to attack an international shipping route, one of the most important shipping routes in the world.
The strikes came in the early evening with Israeli fighter jets hitting the Yemeni port city of Hodeidah. Large fires are still burning after an oil refinery and military sites were targeted. Local people reported seeing warplanes streaking across the sky before explosions thundered through the city. But the attack that provoked the response happened on Friday in this residential district of Tel Aviv. This video captures the moment a Houthi drone careered across the sea, narrowly missing the US embassy, before exploding in the city, killing one person and injuring at least 10 others. The Houthis say the attacks on Israel are part of a campaign of solidarity with the people of Gaza. Since October the 7th, the militant group that holds huge swathes of Yemen has launched a maritime siege of Israel, targeting and capturing ships in the Red Sea. The US and the UK have conducted their own airstrikes against the Houthis because of the attacks on shipping. But they've so far failed to deter the group. This, though, is a significant moment. The violence is escalating, with the Houthis saying they will retaliate to this assault. But Israel says this should be a powerful warning that any attacks on the Jewish state will not go unanswered. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Jerusalem.
Analysts say this attack could have far-reaching consequences, not just for Israel, but for the entire Middle East. It highlights the growing influence the Houthis have in the region and their willingness to extend their operations beyond Yemen's borders. News also breaking now, President of the United States Joe Biden drops out of the 2024 presidential race, making way for the new lead Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. In a surprising turn of events, President Joe Biden has announced that he will not be seeking re-election in 2024. This decision has sent shockwaves through the political landscape, with both parties grappling with the implications. Let's take a closer look at what this means for the future of American politics. Biden said, quote, "After much prayer, I have decided that I will not be a candidate for president in 2024. While it has been an honor to serve this nation, it is time for a new generation of leadership to continue the fight for the soul of this nation."
14 million people voted for me to be the nominee in the Democratic Party. Okay? I listen to them.
President Joe Biden officially exiting the race for the White House, throwing his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. Here's national correspondent Kayla Gaskins.
After weeks of mounting pressure from his own party, following the poor debate performance, Joe Biden stepping down from the top of the ticket.
It is time to pass the torch so that we can have our best chance of winning in November.
The announcement made Sunday afternoon on social media. Joe Biden posting a letter to his personal accounts that reads in part, "While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the interest of my party and the country for me to stand down." In a follow-up post, he gave Vice President Kamala Harris his full endorsement as heir apparent to the nomination. The president making it clear he plans to serve the rest of his term. Donald Trump responding to the news on Truth Social, writing, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve." CNN reporting Trump thinks Kamala Harris will be easier to beat. House Speaker Mike Johnson demanding Joe Biden resign immediately. Earlier in the day, Johnson saying this to CNN.
It's an interesting question, Jake. If he's incapable of running for president, how is he capable of governing right now? I mean, there is 5 months left in this administration. It's a real concern, and it's a danger to the country.
President Biden spent the past week secluded in Delaware recovering from COVID-19, reportedly growing increasingly furious as top Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama flaked on their support. For weeks, Democrat mega-donors expressed concerns over Biden's ability to do the job, some withholding donations, fueling alarm among party leaders. As the pressure increased, Democrats began preparing for a potential Kamala Harris run should she end up as the nominee. An effort reportedly underway to vet who could run as her vice president. Kamala Harris releasing a statement saying, "I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination." Even with Biden's endorsement, Kamala Harris faces an uncertain path. The Democratic convention in Chicago, which starts August 19th, could be an open contest rather than a coronation. The nearly 4,700 delegates picking who they want to put up against Donald Trump this November. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
With the president's endorsement, Kamala Harris finds herself with another potential opportunity to break even more barriers. Harris is the first woman, black person, or person of South Asian descent to serve as vice president. Should she win the nomination and in November, she'd be the first woman to serve as president. Harris was widely seen as the favorite to replace Biden. An AP NORC poll conducted last week found 6 in 10 Democrats thought Harris would be a good job in the top spot.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris appears set to become the Democrat presidential nominee, unchallenged. Amid reports she secured support from a majority of party delegates. Campaign Kamala officially started today. Harris receiving a rousing reception at her first event in her race for the White House. Joe Biden, still in COVID isolation, dialed in to offer support, but the focus quickly shifted. Harris letting Donald Trump know he is firmly in her sights.
Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Donald Trump in turn slammed the vice president, calling her vicious and dumb.
President Biden's decision to step down has left the Democratic Party scrambling to find a suitable replacement. With the incumbent out of the race, the party's nomination is wide open, and several potential candidates have already begun positioning themselves for a run. Now, folks, this is a game changer for the Democrats. Without Biden at the top of the ticket, we're going to see a fierce battle for the nomination. Names like Kamala Harris, Peter Buttigieg, and Gavin Newsom are already being floated as potential candidates. The Republican Party, on the other hand, is also facing a significant shift in the political landscape. With Biden out of the race, the party's focus will likely shift away from the former president and towards a new generation of conservative leaders. Republican strategists say that this is a golden opportunity for the Republican Party to reclaim the White House. With Biden out of the picture, they can focus on their core message of fiscal responsibility, strong national defense, and traditional values. Names like Ron DeSantis, Kristi Noem, and Mike Pence are already being mentioned as political candidates. Many people are now questioning whether or not Biden is even fit to lead the country for the remainder of his term, ending as of January next year as the nation grapples with the implications of Biden's decision. One thing is clear. The 2024 election will be a pivotal moment in American history. With both parties facing significant challenges and opportunities, the race for the White House is sure to be one of the most closely watched and hard-fought contests in recent memory. That's our breaking news segment for the week, folks. And now for our top U.S. stories. Trump, after surviving an assassination attempt last weekend, vows to press on and has finally announced his nomination pick for the next Vice President of the United States. Also, he gave his first speech at the RNC since the attempt occurred. Let's take a look at the latest.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again, just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. Be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. Sing it! God bless the USA.
Despite his harrowing experience, Trump has shown remarkable resilience. He arrived in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention as planned, stating on social media that he cannot allow a shooter or potential assassin to force change to scheduling or anything else. The only changes he did make was to his speech prepared for the RNC. In a surprising development, Trump completely rewrote his convention speech in the light of the assassination attempt. Instead of focusing on criticizing President Biden's policies, Trump made changes to call for national unity, drawing parallels to Ronald Reagan's response after his assassination attempt in 1981.
Donald Trump arrived in Milwaukee yesterday. He's not speaking till later on in the week. That's usually how things go. What can we expect from his speech? Because as I understand it, he's making some changes.
That's right, Anne-Marie. He landed here last night. They have been adamant that this convention should go on as planned. They have made no changes to the fundamental schedule. But as you mentioned, the speeches, and especially the former president's speech, will be altered by the events of the weekend. The former president said yesterday in an interview with the Washington Examiner that he has rewritten, or they are rewriting, a lot of his speech. This is a different speech, he said to the Examiner, than he was intending to give.
The RNC, now in its third day, has seen some changes to its speaker lineup. Notably, South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who was originally expected to skip the event, now attended and spoke at the convention, as well as other prominent figures across the country.
Many of you know I was the survivor of a politically motivated shooting in 2017. Donald Trump was one of the first to come console my family at the hospital. That's the kind of leader he is. Courageous under fire, compassionate towards others.
We're uniting today as Americans in the wake of the assassination attempt on the life of President Trump. The American people deserve to know the truth, and we will ensure accountability. I promise you that. I promise you that.
Not even an assassin's bullet could stop him. God Almighty intervened because America is one nation under God, and He is certainly not finished with President Trump.
I know that a lot of you want to meet my little buddy. So if Baby Doll could come on out here, she makes us smile, and she loves everybody. And how could the message possibly be any more simpler than just that?
This time last year, I was a candidate for U.S. president, and I'm proud to say that I achieved the impossible, which is that most of you actually know how to say my name by now. So,
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period. We should acknowledge that there are some Americans who don't agree with Donald Trump 100% of the time. You don't have to agree with Trump 100% of the time to vote for him.
Donald Trump has been demonized. He's been sued. He's been prosecuted, and he nearly lost his life. We cannot let him down, and we cannot let America down.
I know what you hear out there about Donald Trump. I have seen this man dragged through hell and back, in and out of courtrooms, indictments, impeachments, mugshots, and even an assassination attempt. Millimeters separated him from life and certain death. And yet, it was in the midst of it all, as he was jostled off stage by Secret Service, that he knew how defining that moment would be for our country. And he hoisted his fist in the air.
As the convention continued, all eyes were on Trump's upcoming speech on Thursday night. Will his call for unity resonate with the American people? Only time will tell. Also, Donald Trump finally announced his running mate and nomination for the next Vice President of the United States, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance.
Breaking news right now. We are learning from Fox News that Donald Trump has named Senator J.D. Vance as his VP pick here. So this was one of the front runners that was being speculated for the last couple of weeks here. And now we do know here from Donald Trump himself via Truth Social that he is the pick, J.D. Vance, as his vice presidential pick here. We do want to now show you just what this announcement looked like via Truth Social, saying after lengthy deliberation and thought and considering the tremendous talents of many others, I have decided that the person best suited to assume the position of Vice President of the United States is Senator J.D. Vance of the great state of Ohio. J.D. honorably served our country in the Marine Corps, graduated from Ohio State University in 2 years, and is a Yale Law School graduate where he was editor of the Yale Law Journal and president of the Yale Law Veterans Association. JD's book, Hillbilly Elegy, became a major bestseller and movie as it championed the hardworking men and women of our country. JD has had a very successful business career in technology and finance, and now during the campaign will be strongly focused on the people he fought so brilliantly for, the American workers and farmers in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Minnesota, and far beyond there. So again, that being just announced moments ago on Truth Social.
Overnight, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance making his primetime political debut.
I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
Donald Trump's running mate highlighting his rural upbringing in Middletown, Ohio.
It was also a place that had been cast aside and forgotten by America's ruling class in Washington.
The author of Hillbilly Elegy, connecting his turbulent childhood, raised in poverty, to key voter issues like inflation and immigration. Vance also honoring his late grandmother, who raised him while his mother struggled with addiction. She was there last night, watching from the hall.
I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here. 10 years, clean and sober. I love you, Mom.
The former self-described never-Trumper now positioning himself as a loyal number two, repeatedly name-dropping key Rust Belt battlegrounds the Trump campaign hopes to win come November.
All the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. We got to win Michigan too here, so.
And Vance not shying away from attacks on President Biden, pointedly referencing his own age, at 39 years old, the first millennial on a major party ticket.
Joe Biden has been a politician in Washington for longer than I've been alive.
While the campaign's looking to broaden Mr. Trump's appeal.
We cannot only talk to Republicans alone. I think you have to reach out to the entire country.
It's also hoping to supercharge turnout in its Republican base.
They lied about Joe Biden's fitness for office.
With an appearance from former Trump aide Peter Navarro, met with applause hours after leaving a federal prison where he was serving time for contempt of Congress.
If they can come for me, and if they can come for Donald Trump, be careful, they will come for you.
J.D. Vance has had a meteoric rise in the Republican Party. From a best-selling author and never-Trumper in 2016...
I'm a never-Trump guy. I never liked him.
...to winning a U.S. Senate seat at age 38. And now, he's former President Donald Trump's running mate.
Elect Donald Trump in 2024. God bless you, sir.
Vance is very much a creature of the new Republican Party that Trump has shaped in his image. By picking Vance, Trump is showing he's doubling down on this MAGA agenda. It's a full-throated, populist, national conservative ticket.
Here's why the Trump-Vance ticket is a big deal for the future of the MAGA movement and the GOP. J.D. Vance first catapulted to fame in 2016 after he published his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. The book detailed his experience growing up poor in Rust Belt, Ohio, and making it to Yale Law School. It was a smash hit and became a Ron Howard-directed movie in 2020.
We're trying to paint this white nationalist movement as a movement primarily of poor and working class Americans, when the truth is that the alt-right is actually led by better educated and frankly pretty well-to-do people.
In his initial foray into the public spotlight, Vance was very much anti-Trump. His book made clear that he was a conservative.
I obviously didn't fully appreciate the president's appeal in 2016.
Yeah, he said some bad things about me, but that was before he knew me, and then he fell in love.
He even described himself to me in one interview as a flip-flop flipper on Trump, saying that he had similar policy views but was against Trump as a person until he realized that Trump was advocating for the policies that he supported.
Now, for highlights from Trump's much-anticipated speech at the RNC and first public speech since he was shot last week, let's take a look.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Wow. Friends, delegates, and fellow citizens, I stand before you this evening with a message of confidence, strength, and hope. 4 months from now, we will have an incredible victory, and we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Together, we will launch a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for citizens of every race, religion, color and creed. The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly. As Americans, we are bound together by a single fate and a shared destiny. We rise together or we fall apart. I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. So tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you. Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily, because I was discussing the great job my administration did on immigration at the southern border. We were very proud of it. Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage. These are great people at great risk, I will tell you, and pounced on top of me so that I would be protected. There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired, crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It's very unusual. This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely but automatically stood up looking for where the sniper would be. They knew immediately it was a sniper. And then began pointing at him. You can see that if you look at the group behind me. That was just a small group compared to what was in front. Nobody ran, and by not stampeding, many lives were saved. They knew I was in very serious trouble. They saw it. They saw me go down. They saw the blood and thought, actually most did, that I was dead. They knew it was a shot to the head. They saw the blood. They didn't want to leave me. They knew I was in trouble. They didn't want to leave me. And you can see that love written all over their faces. Incredible people. They're incredible people. Bullets were flying over us, yet I felt serene. But now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance and with only one bullet used, took the assassin's life, took him out. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah. Thank you. But I'm not. And I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God.
Due to the lengthiness of the speech, I'm unable to show you all the highlights in this episode. We have a lot more to cover. You can catch the full speech posted on Blank Space. Next headline is the spot Ethereum ETF is due to launch on July 23rd. Cryptocurrency enthusiasts rejoice. The long-awaited spot Ethereum ETF is set to launch on July 23rd, allowing investors to buy into the volatile world of crypto without actually owning any digital assets.
Today, Bitcoin crosses $64,000 as the cryptocurrency continues to move higher. And Brian Dixon, CEO of Off the Chain Capital, breaks down how an approval of spot Ether ETFs could impact the trajectory of crypto prices. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Crypto prices in the green once again this morning, with Bitcoin trading close to $65,000 as of noon Eastern. Ether jumped more than 3% to $3,477, and Solana shot up more than 5%. Now, prices jumped following a report from Reuters yesterday evening, citing 3 industry sources as saying that the SEC has given preliminary approval to at least 3 of the 8 asset managers hoping to launch spot Ether ETFs to begin trading next Tuesday. Now, according to Reuters, the approval hinges on applicants submitting final offering documents to regulators before the end of the week, with one source reportedly saying that all are expected to launch at the same time, just like when spot Bitcoin ETFs began trading in January. BlackRock, VanEck, and Franklin Templeton are among the asset managers whose applications for spot Ether ETFs could get the green light from the SEC next week. That's reportedly expected to happen on Monday afternoon, with trading in the products expected to begin the next day. We reached out to the SEC for comment, but didn't hear back right away. Meantime, according to Citi Research, spot Ether ETFs could see net inflows of up to $5.4 billion in the first 6 months after they launch. The research says that spot ETFs could see 30 to 35% of spot Bitcoin ETF flows, but that the distribution is skewed to the downside. Now, focusing on Bitcoin, last week, the cryptocurrency was trading below the $60,000 level, but Bitcoin's value has risen since the failed assassination attempt of Trump on Saturday. Investors see an increased chance of a Trump victory in the upcoming presidential election, impacting a range of markets, including crypto, given that Trump's recent crypto stance has really picked up momentum in the last few months. Now, on top of that, yesterday, the presumptive Republican nominee announced that he chose crypto-friendly Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential candidate. Now, in 2022, Vance disclosed that he held between $100,001 to $250,000 of Bitcoin on Coinbase.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has given preliminary approval for at least 3 companies to launch spot Ether ETFs, marking a significant milestone for the cryptocurrency industry. This move is expected to make digital assets more accessible to mainstream investors, potentially kickstarting an ETH bull run. Ether, the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap, is currently trading at $3,503.88 USD, up 7.1% today and an impressive 14.4% over the past week. With a market value of $359 billion, it's clear that there's significant interest in this digital asset. For our third top U.S. headline tonight, the U.S. stock market hits record highs. The U.S. stock market has reached unprecedented heights, with the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average both hitting record levels. The surge is attributed to a combination of strong corporate earnings, low interest rates, and a general optimism about the economy's recovery from the pandemic.
We've got 1 hour to go until the market close. So let's take a look at the major averages here. We are on track now for records, not from necessarily the S&P, the NASDAQ, the new one, the new newer entrant is the Dow. It looks like it's going to close at a record today. And the number to beat is 40,003. And it looks like we're well above those levels with this 0.7% increase today. The S&P 500 could well close at a record as well. 5633, the number to beat there. It's above that right now. We'll see if it closes there. The NASDAQ doesn't look like it is going to match its record. But nonetheless, seeing this rally here today, already stocks were rallying. And then we heard from Fed Chair Jay Powell around midday. And that served to, it didn't necessarily supercharge the rally, but it gave it another underpinning.
It was interesting to hear Jay Powell speak because he talked, Julie, about the inflation data, and obviously to start the year it had come in hotter than expected, but now the inflation picture seems to be kind of improving. He talked about that. He talked about the economy performing well, right? Labor market coming back into better balance. Kind of not surprising when you hear Jay Powell talking like that you hear the July cut talk kind of bubbling up.
Yes, and notably bubbling up from Jan Hatzius, as chief economist at Goldman Sachs, who was out with a note today saying, if the groundwork is there to cut in September, why not just do it in July? If the rationale is in place, why not just do it sooner? So we'll see what ends up happening. Powell was asked about timing today. He said, I'm not going to give any indication on timing. So we'll see what ends up happening.
BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, reported that its assets under management surpassed 10 trillion USD in the second quarter, rising nearly 13% from the previous year to a staggering $10.6 trillion. This milestone underscores the broader trend of increasing investors' confidence and market stability. Now for our top Philippines headlines of the week. First up, Department of Education officials resign, paving the way for new leadership. 5 senior officials of the Department of Education have tendered their courtesy resignations to President Fernando Marcos Jr. The move is intended to give the new leadership a clean slate in choosing their own team. The officials who sent their resignations include Chief of Staff and longtime department spokesman Undersecretary Michael Wesley Poe, Undersecretary for Administration Nolasco Mempin, Assistant Secretary for the Office of the Secretary Sunshine Fajarda, Assistant Secretary for the Procurement Reynald Munsayak, and Assistant Secretary for Administration Noel Baluyan.
Department of Education spokesperson Undersecretary Michael Poa says he and 4 other officials have resigned. In a message to reporters Tuesday, July 16, Poa explains that they resigned as a courtesy to incoming Deputy Chief Sonny Angara. According to POA, other DepEd officials who quit their posts are Undersecretary for Administration Nolasco Mimpin, Assistant Secretary Sunshine Fajarda, Assistant Secretary for Procurement Reynold Munsayak, and Assistant Secretary for Administration Noel Baluyan.
This information was revealed by incoming Education Secretary Juan Edgardo Angara during a chance interview with reporters at the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority office in Pasig City.
Maduwang semana makalis mabakante ang DepEd Secretary position. Piganunsyo kan Malacanang ngunyan na aldaw ang appointment ni Senator Juan Edgardo Soni Angara para sa nasambit na posisyon. Basado sa Presidential Communications Office, igwanin mahiwas na legislative history si Angara. Siring man na igwa siya ni mga naipasar na mga reformang pang-edukasyon, pira sa mga bagay na nagkwalipikar sa iya sa posisyon. Si Angara ang maribay ki Vice President Sara Duterte na nagbuta sa pwesto kan Hunyo 19. Antes pa man ang appointment na ini, nagkapirang pangaran na ang pigrekomenda kan pirang organisasyon para sa posisyon. Nakabali nga ni Jan si Father Wilmer Joseph Tria kan Archdiocese of Cáceres. Mayo subuot ini nin consent ni Father Tria asin miski siya nakubanan kan maaraman ini. Pagtaong doon kay ini, mayo siya nin interes sa nasambit na posisyon.
Angara revealed earlier Tuesday that POA informed him that he was leaving. Angara will resume his post as Education Secretary starting July 19 after Vice President Sara Duterte quit the Marcos administration cabinet nearly a month ago.
As we commence preparations to embark on a new school year, we also take time to assess where we are from where we started. Tanda ko pa nung ako'y unang manungkulan bilang kalihim ng edukasyon sa gitna ng pangkaraniwang kaalaman natin ukol sa sitwasyon ng basic education sa ating bansa. Gumugol din ako ng oras upang marinig mismo mula sa bibig ng ating mga guro, ng mga mag-aaral at mga magulang kung ano nga ba ang iba't ibang pagsubok na pinagdadaanan nila araw-araw. Ang mga narinig ko ay sari-saring kwento ng katatagan, pagmamahal sa napiling bukasyon at pagsisikap upang makamit ang mga munting pangarap. Ang matatag agenda is not a mere campaign. Rather, it encapsulates and defines what Philippine education, along with its approximately 28 million learners and almost 1 million teachers, already embodies. It is resilient. Our children are the children of heroes. They deserve no less than an education system that can fully unleash true potential and effectively mold them into vital contributors for nation building.
Undersecretary Pao stated that their resignations will take effect on July 19, 2024, which coincides with Vice President Sara Duterte's departure from her post as Education Secretary. Next top headlines for the week are top U.S. General tackles sea security with Philippine military, and also the Philippines National Bureau of Investigation makes a disturbing discovery. General Charles Q. Brown, Jr., chair of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, met with Philippine military officials to discuss maritime security and defense cooperation. The talks focused on enhancing greater interoperability between the two nations' armed forces.
U.S. Military Chief Charles Brown Jr. in the Philippines to strengthen Washington's security ties with Manila. Brown met with key Philippine officials, including his Philippine counterpart, Romeo Bronner Jr., and Manila's Defense Chief Gibo Teodoro. The leaders tackled the security assessment in 2nd Thomas Shoal, which has been a flashpoint in Manila's standoff with Beijing. Brown also set to visit one of the sites under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement.
Pinapakita nito na yung sinasabi nila na solid yung commitment ng US in this alliance, no. If you look at the activities that are happening, continuous naman tayo sa lahat ng mga activities that are involving the US.
Brown's visit to the Philippines, his first stop on his tour of the Indo-Pacific, comes ahead of the security talks between the two nations scheduled in the coming weeks. After his visit to the Philippines, Brown will head to Japan to discuss regional deterrence and security cooperation.
Also, the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, discovers kidney harvesting operation. The NBI officials say the investigation was started after a harvest victim claimed he had not been paid. This triggered a full-blown investigation that's led to the discoveries of a large-scale illegal kidney harvesting operation. Let's look at the latest.
A nurse at government's top kidney transplant facility linked to a syndicate involved in the illegal harvesting and selling of kidneys. Nico Bauer reports.
NBI-NCR operatives entered this house in an exclusive subdivision in San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. A victim told them this is where recruited kidney donors are hidden. This is where donors who were offered 200,000 pesos are allegedly prepared before their operation until their recovery. 3 people were arrested who allegedly served as caretaker of the house and managers of the victims. 9 victims were rescued. 4 were already operated on, while the rest are scheduled for kidney harvest. The NBI also chanced upon the payment that was supposed to be given to one of the kidney donors.
Andun yung mga tao natin, dumating din itong mga subject na nagbigay pa ng kakulangan nila sa halagang 150,000 sa isang victim na kaka-opera lang.
A victim showed his scar after his kidney was harvested this month. The NBI says the investigation started after one of the victims claimed that he was not paid.
Sabi po kasi nila okay lang po pag nawala po yung isang kidney. Kasi yung bayad po, hindi po namin nakuha.
Hindi mo pa nakuha? Kahit magkano? Wala pa?
2,000 lang po yung nabigay nila.
2 of the suspects admitted they themselves were paid kidney donors who were later recruited to join the illegal activity. The alleged ringleader, according to the 2 suspects, is said to be a head nurse at the National Kidney Transplant Institute.
Sinabi sa amin legal po ito, sabi sa amin. Kaya napaniwala po kami na legal yung ginagawa. Hanggang sa huli, nalaman po namin na bawal pala dahil pagbebenta.
The suspects also claimed they worked with the group for a year and counted around 20 victims. They were allegedly recruited through social media depending on the blood type of the kidney recipient.
Yung politiko naman na po na yung pass away na po siya. Pero yung anak po niya yung may sakit na recipient. Dating politiko. Opo, sabay kong nakasalang ang donor at the recipient pero nauuna pong i-harvest ang donor.
The kidney harvest or operation is done in different facilities, but the victims allegedly stay in the house for the pre- and post-requirements of the operation. The NBI says they are investigating some doctors and hospitals.
Andun po sila ng 3 to 4 months. Inclusive na po doon lahat ng procedures, like for example yung pagko-cross-match nila doon sa kanilang recipient ng kidney and yung pagpapagaling nila matapos silang operahan.
The NBI also clarified that the law focuses on those who recruited the victims and not those who received the kidneys.
Pinaparusahan natin yung sindikato na nagre-recruit ng ganyan, ginagamit yung kahirapan ng tao, yun ang pinagbabawal ng batas.
In a statement, NKTI admitted that the nurse identified by the NBI is their employee. They assured the public that they are conducting their own internal investigation. They also warned against groups who offer transactions outside the hospital while representing themselves as members of their institution. They clarified that they only honor legitimate transactions regarding organ donations and transplants. Nico Bawa, ABS-CBN News.
200,000 peso is less than $4,000 US. Shocking someone would be willing to give up a major organ for barely enough money to buy 6 months of groceries. Anyways, more details to come as this story unfolds. Next, an explosive Filipino headline. Mount Canalaon erupts while having minimal effects on June cost inflation. Despite Mount Kanlaon's recent eruption, economists report that it had little impact on June's inflation rate. The volcano apparently miffed at being ignored, is reportedly considering a more dramatic performance for its next eruption. Though the eruption was small compared to usual volcanic eruptions, it was still the largest recorded eruption of Mount Kanlaon in history and incurred significant damage from the ash and volcanic mudslides on local villages. Let's take a look.
June 3, 2024, the Kanlaon volcano in the Philippines produced its largest eruption in recorded history. As a plume of ash rapidly rose into the atmosphere, part of the eruption column collapsed back to the ground, generating pyroclastic flows. These superheated flows of 800 degrees Celsius volcanic material raced down slope at speeds exceeding 120 kilometers per hour, reaching up to 3,000 meters downslope before it came to a halt 2 minutes later. Large car-sized lava bombs were subsequently seen being ejected alongside the appearance of other incandescent material in the pyroclastic flows which were generated. Then, only 6 minutes later, this specific explosion ended as a plume of ash from a powerful volcanic eruption rose to an elevation of 7,620 meters or 25,000 feet. Wet ash subsequently fell on several adjacent towns to the west and southwest of Kanlaon, where it had a sticky clay-like texture with a light gray coloration.
Heavy rain washed volcanic mud and debris through villages in Negros Occidental and Negros Oriental following Kanlaon volcano's eruption. State volcanologists confirmed that a muddy sheet wash was observed in Kanlaon City in Negros Oriental and La Castellana in Negros Occidental on Wednesday afternoon, June 5. According to FIVOLC's Director Tresito Bocolcol, the extent and volume of the lahar is still being determined. Bocolcol warns the public that lahar contains volcanic ash and is dangerous. FIVOLC's defines lahar as slurries of volcanic sediment, debris and water that cascade down a volcano slopes through rivers and channels. Kanlaon exploded on Monday evening, June 3, sending a plume of ash, rocks, and gases 5 kilometers into the sky. Alert level 2 remains over the volcano. According to FIVOLC's, a volcano was placed under alert level 2 because increased volcanic earthquakes, steam, and gas emission.
Now for our top world news headlines. First off, the powerful Hurricane Beryl demolishes much of the Caribbean. Hurricane Beryl, a Category 5 monster, was barreling towards the Caribbean with winds of 165 miles per hour. This record-breaking storm has meteorologists reaching for their thesauruses to find new ways to say really, really big. The National Hurricane Center indicated that Beryl's projected path westward across the Caribbean slightly shifted northward. However, the storm's trajectory beyond the next 72 hours would remain uncertain, with a wide range of potential routes anticipated as it progresses towards the Gulf of Mexico. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has advised residents to seek higher ground, preferably somewhere with a well-stocked bar. Jamaica has elevated its alert status from a hurricane watch to a hurricane warning.
We begin with Hurricane Beryl. It has hit Jamaica with winds recorded of nearly 150 miles an hour, pummeling the island's southern coast overnight. The death toll has risen to at least 10 across the Caribbean and is widely expected to rise, whilst almost 500 Jamaicans have been evacuated from flood-prone communities.
We urge all Jamaicans to comply with notices to evacuate, if and when they are issued. However, even without the issuance of notice, if you live in a low-lying area, and an area historically prone to flooding and landslide, or if you live on the banks of a river or a gully, I implore you to evacuate to a shelter or to safer ground.
Well, let's go live to Jamaica now. We can talk to Curtis Kitchen, who is there on holiday with his family. Curtis, welcome to BBC News. Whereabouts are you?
We are at the Hilton Rose Hall, just about 20 minutes or so east of Montego.
And what's happening at the moment?
Well, now, thankfully, it sounds like things have quieted down. Just stuck my head outside a few minutes ago, and it looked like we're down to just a breeze and maybe a couple of showers left, certainly with the worst behind us at this point.
So you're in a holiday resort with your wife and children. I mean, what were you told by the people running the resort to do? They just say hunker down?
Essentially, yes. The communication has been fantastic for us since we got here. They've gone door to door or left written notices with each room or put up signage around the resort basically saying which services would be in effect, which maybe had been delayed until the storm was over, to respect all or all curfews, which activities would not be allowed, including going outside until the all clear was given. So they've been very forthright, very transparent, and I feel like they've done a very nice job communicating with everyone here on the resort. You know, it sounded scary there for a little while, especially after about 4 o'clock our time until about 7:30 or 8. There definitely was a low roar with the wind there for a little while. It looked and sounded pretty scary there for a little while.
Next, Hong Kong to publish results on stablecoin regulation. Hong Kong's Financial Services and Treasury Bureau is set to release the results of its consultation on stablecoin regulation. The move aims to establish a legislative framework for licensing and regulating stablecoin issuers. And last but not least, for our world news segment, the ongoing Israeli-Gaza conflict in the Middle East. The Israel-Gaza conflict continues to escalate, now in its 9th month since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, 2023. The situation remains dire, with significant casualties and humanitarian concerns on both sides. In Gaza, the death toll has reached approximately 34,000, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, though these numbers are difficult to verify independently. Nearly 2 million Gazans, over 85% of the population, have been displaced from their homes since October. The Strip faces severe shortages of water, fuel, and essential supplies. Israel recently conducted a major strike in southern Gaza targeting Hamas commanders, but resulting in at least 71 civilian casualties. This attack highlights the ongoing challenge of minimizing civilian harm in densely populated areas.
There is a war going on in the Middle East between the country of Israel and a group called Hamas, which controls the territory called the Gaza Strip. But what is the Gaza Strip? Who lives there? And why is it at the center of the most recent conflict? As briefly as we can, this is Can Explains the Gaza Strip. So, the Gaza area was named after the city of Gaza, which is right about here. The Gaza Strip is a strip of land. I'll get to why it's a strip later. The entire area is around 360 square kilometers, which is about the same size as Montreal. The Gaza Strip is surrounded by Israel, Egypt, and the Mediterranean Sea. About 2.3 million people live within that area. The people who live there are known as Palestinians. Most are refugees, or descendants of refugees, who cannot return to their ancestral homeland because of the ongoing conflict with Israel. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, nearly half of the population is under 18. So, how did the Gaza Strip come to be? And what does it have to do with the wider conflict between Israel and Hamas? To understand how we got here, we need to go back in time. Britain took control of the region, then known as Palestine, or Mandatory Palestine, after the First World War. After the Second World War, Britain asked the United Nations to come up with a plan for the land. One of the challenges coming out of the war was to find a place for the large number of Jewish refugees displaced because of the Holocaust. The UN decided that the land should be divided into an area for Arab Palestinians, most of whom were Muslim, and an area for Jews. The Arab Palestinians did not agree with that plan. They didn't want a Jewish homeland to be created on land where they already lived. On the day that British control of Palestine was set to expire, Israel declared itself a state, and that sparked a war. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were forced to flee. One of the places they went was the area in and around Gaza City. By the end of the war, Israel had gained most of the territory, leaving a strip under Egyptian control, hence the name the Gaza Strip. Israel took control of the whole area during a conflict called the Six-Day War in 1967. It also allowed 21 Jewish settlements to be created in that territory. For years, Palestinian groups have fought against Israeli occupation. There have also been attempts to make peace, but they have failed. In 2005, Israel withdrew its military and all Jewish settlements from the Gaza Strip. In 2006, with pressure from the United States, elections were held across the Palestinian territories, which include the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. Hamas won those elections, beating out the Fatah party. This led to a conflict between the two groups. Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip, and Fatah took charge of the West Bank. One important thing to know about Hamas is that they have called for the destruction of Israel. Hamas has said it wants to drive Israel off all occupied territories and set up an Islamic State. Hamas governs different aspects of life in Gaza, from politics to social services to militant activities. Hamas is considered a terrorist group by many countries, including Israel, Canada, and the US. Since Hamas took power, Israel and Egypt have controlled who can enter and leave the Gaza Strip. Israel also controls resources, such as water and electricity. Israel says those measures are taken to protect Israel from attacks by militant groups in Gaza. The restrictions have made life very difficult for those who live in Gaza. The United Nations has said that the limitations on Gazans threaten human rights in some cases. On the other hand, Hamas has been criticized for using Gaza's resources to fight Israel and not governing effectively. All of this backstory means the Gaza Strip has been a part of the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians for 75 years. And that brings us to the current situation. On October 7, 2023, Hamas militants launched a brutal attack that killed 1,400 people in Israel, according to the Israeli government. Israel retaliated by declaring war on Hamas and bombing much of the Gaza Strip. Thousands of Palestinians have died since the Israel siege began, according to the Gaza-based Ministry of Health. And that is how this small piece of land became the center of this war. For CBC Kids News, I'm Arjun Rao. The story of the Gaza Strip is a difficult and complex one. To help us tell it, we spoke to several experts who shared their knowledge and perspective on the situation.
Efforts to secure a ceasefire and release hostages have been largely unsuccessful. Over 100 Israeli and foreign hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th remain in captivity. Their status is unknown. The conflict has sparked regional tensions. Hezbollah in Lebanon is engaged in cross-border skirmishes with Israel, while Yemen's Houthi rebels have targeted Israeli and commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Politically, Israel's war cabinet has seen significant changes. Benny Gantz, a key member, resigned over disagreements on military strategy and post-war planning. Prime Minister Netanyahu subsequently dissolved the six-member group war cabinet. Internationally, the U.S. has maintained strong support for Israel, though former officials have raised concerns about the impact of U.S. policy on national security. The UN Security Council has struggled to reach a consensus on addressing the conflict. Public opinion within Palestinian territories is shifting, with growing criticism of Hamas emerging both on the streets and online. As the conflict persists, the international community remains focused on achieving a ceasefire, addressing the humanitarian crisis, and working towards a long-term resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Now for our AI and technology segment. First up, China unveils armed robot dog for military use. And U.S. Air Force deploys their own robotic hellhounds. In a scene reminiscent of the thought-provoking series Black Mirror, China's military has unveiled its latest innovation for the modern battlefield, a robot dog armed with an automatic rifle. This technological marvel, which bears a striking resemblance to man's loyal companion, was showcased during military drills with Cambodia. A soldier identified as Chen Wei spoke about the robot dog's potential role in urban combat. Operations in a video broadcasted by China's state broadcaster CCTV. He explained that the robot could replace human soldiers for reconnaissance, enemy identification, and target striking. The U.S. Air Force has deployed robotic dogs known as Advanced Battle Management Systems. Companies like Bosstown Dynamics and others in Silicon Valley released their current projects that are far superior to the Chinese military bots, bringing the U.S. officially into the lead of this robotic race to power in the AI military revolution.
China is showcasing advanced military technologies against the backdrop of escalating tensions with the United States. Just recently, the Chinese revealed new examples of high-tech weaponry, including shooting robot dogs, drones, and spy balloons. Let's focus on the latest robot dog. In late October 2022, China unveiled a robotic dog equipped with a machine gun that can be transported by a drone. In a video clip, the drone delivers the robot dog to the roof of a building. The Chinese military is poised to make an unprecedented technological breakthrough and is gradually beginning the process of replacing soldiers with robots armed with rifles.
Totally awesome or totally frightening. Look at this. China's military has released this video of a four-legged robot marching through a field with an automatic rifle mounted on its back. The Chinese state broadcaster calls it the newest member of China's urban combat operations. The robot dogs are programmed to conduct reconnaissance, identify the enemy, and strike the target. If that thing comes around the corner and if you're on the other side, you're done.
Yeah, over.
Recent research has shown that semi-autonomous killer machines are capable of shooting targets with rifles as effectively as humans. They are expected to enhance the combat capabilities of troops and guard important facilities. Let's start our selection with one of the most promising robo-dogs. The Chinese robot dog Unitree B2 continues to break all records. The robot can maintain balance on stairs and can accelerate to an incredible 6 meters per second. It can withstand a load of over 120 kilograms and can walk for more than 5 hours on a single battery charge. In camouflage green tones and with protective mesh, a robot dog was showcased, the latest invention of the Chinese military industry. At the China Air Show presentations, it was evident that this robo-dog can ascend and descend, move in all directions, and rotate around its axis. Exciting, but still not original. Most noticed that the Chinese robot is actually a copy of the model from Boston Dynamics, a company that has been developing similar robots for many years and is known worldwide for its achievements in this field. It is still unknown whether the Chinese acquired a license from the American company or managed to closely replicate this invention. Furthermore, many experts express concerns regarding the potential use of such robots for military purposes, fearing an escalation of international tensions and an arms race.
These futuristic robot dogs, manufactured by Ghost Robotics, have joined the U.S. military. The U.S. Air Force is testing the Vision 60 UGV's K9 robots to defend its bases. According to Ghost Robotics, the robots are able to operate in any terrain and environment. And can execute a wide range of tasks while carrying sensors and radio equipment. The robots are just one part of the U.S. military advanced battle management system. which uses artificial intelligence and data analysis to detect and counter threats. Next up, we hear from AI experts Elon Musk and Peter Diamandis as they share their latest updates. Tech moguls Elon Musk and Peter Diamandis have been making waves with their latest AI-related projects and comments. Musk, never one to shy away from bold statements, recently tweeted that his Neuralink brain-computer interface will soon allow humans to download kung fu skills like in The Matrix, but without the weird goo pods. Peter Diamandis, founder of the X Prize Foundation, announced a new competition to develop an AI that can successfully explain cryptocurrency to your grandparents. I feature an entire episode on this segment called The AI Revolution. This episode is posted on Blank Space, where you can view the full report, including interviews with both Peter Diamandis and Elon Musk. Moving on, last but not least, let's take a look at the highlights from the Global AI Convention in Shanghai. As artificial intelligence continues to reshape our world, global summits and conventions have become crucial platforms for discussing the latest developments, challenges, and opportunities in the field. Let's take a look at some of the most significant AI events of 2024, including the recently concluded World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai. This event brings together visionary experts, academics, corporate leaders, and policymakers to shape the future of artificial intelligence. The AI event that's been making headlines recently is the 2024 World Artificial Intelligence Conference, or WAIC, which just wrapped up in Shanghai, China. This year's WAIC themed Governing AI for Good and for All brought together 1,300 industry leaders, exhibitors, and delegations from over 50 countries and regions, including 9 Turing Award, Fields Medal, and Nobel Prize winners.
Hi everyone, this is Yoyo from Xinhua and welcome to Shanghai. Here we are at the World Artificial Intelligence Conference 2024. Let's check what the most cutting-edge AI technology and products. So 2024 World Artificial Intelligence Conference is scheduled from July 4th to July the 7th. The 4-day event will be showcase a comprehensive the cutting-edge AI technologies like this machine dog. Let's see what kind it do. So it's navigating, its direction, and it's moving on in a stop. Okay, so maybe it is one of the staff of the WAIC to help people to be the guard of the audience here. Here comes one of the star projects of this WAIC series, the Tesla's Octopus. So the Octopus is designed for perform repetitive, boring, dangerous tasks for human beings, and the humanoid robot is intended to address labor shortages or improve work conditions in various industries. You can see the robot has a humanoid in form, which allows it to interact with environment designed for humans, using its hand, bodies to perform tasks. And many audience around are very interested in these products. Another star products, it shows up in this year's World Artificial Intelligence Conference. It's the Tesla Cybertruck. So Cybertruck, as you can see, is an all-electric pickup truck that was unveiled by Tesla. And this truck features a very unique futuristic design with the sharp angles and the flat surfaces. Many visitors are taking picture of this car. It looks like the car of the future. So the Tesla has boasted impressive performance of the specs of the Cybertruck, and as it is one of the fastest acceleration truck in this class, and the electric range for the Cybertruck is estimated to be between the 250 to 500 miles depending on its model, which is quite extensive for an electric vehicles, especially a truck. And meanwhile, this truck also equipped with AI technologies to become more smarter. It is equipped with the autopilot function, and Tesla Cybertruck represents a significant step into the electric pickup truck segment, which has been traditionally dominated by the gasoline-powered vehicles. And our next stop is Westwell Technology. If you have watched the movie The Wandering Earth, you must be familiar with this product. This is Westworld Technologies Q truck.
Let's first talk about Westworld. Westworld is established in Shanghai in 2015, like 9 years ago, and it's originally a Shanghai company, which provides a full-stack solution for seaports, airports, and etc. for logistics scenarios. And we apply artificial intelligence to these scenarios. You can see the Q truck over here. This is our newest version of the truck, and we have two versions of this truck.
Westworld Technology in 2018 launched its flagship product Q truck. As you can see, it's a fully autonomous NEV for commercial use, and the battery swappable version was released in 2022. So currently, the Q truck has been commercialized and mass-produced in China, the United Kingdom, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Mexico. And at the same booth just near the Q track, there shows Westworld International launched also the world's first intelligent logistic robot called Wellboat. As you can see, the Wellboat uses advanced sensors to handle cargo precisely and efficiently, adapting to a different loading platform and even the tight spaces. And this new product, which debuted during the 2024 WIC, can navigate on its own and can also work along with the Q truck. So Wellboat also can seamlessly integrate with the existing warehouse system, supporting the human-machine collaboration and integrating warehouse control system so that extra infrastructure not needed. AI digital human technology. We can see its face. This Shenmei is an AI digital human. 3D modeling, skeleton motion, and facial expression can capture technology to create a virtual human imagine close to appearance of the real person. And just on the side, we can see the staff of the booth is asking what's her name, interact with her, so that the Shenmei can be interact with the staff and seem very alive, come very alive. And moreover, also the Shenmei selects a large model architecture suitable for the power marketing professions. Here comes is also humanoid robots. So the humanoid robots, it might be the one of the key words of this WIC.
One of the most significant outcomes of the conference was the birth of the Shanghai Declaration on Global AI Governance. This declaration is committed to promoting the healthy, orderly, and safe development of global AI by initiating joint efforts in its development and security consultation on governance, mutual benefit, shared results, and promoting exchanges on dialogue among countries. You know, folks, with all this talk about AI and robots, I can't help but wonder, are we creating these machines to make our lives easier? Or are we just setting ourselves up for the world's most epic game of Simon Says? I mean, sure, it's all fun and games until Alexa decides she's had enough of being asked about the weather and starts a robot rebellion. But hey, maybe I'm just being paranoid. After all, if Hollywood has taught us anything, it's that all an AI uprising needs to be stopped is a plucky band of misfits and at least one computer hacker who can type really, really fast. So sleep tight, everyone, and remember, if your toaster starts asking existential questions, it may be time to unplug it. Well, folks, that's all the news we have time for tonight. From Trump's call for unity to AI's quest for world domination, just kidding, I hope, and the ups and downs of fintech investment, it's been quite a ride. Remember, in a world full of blank spaces, sometimes it's best to just sit back and enjoy the show. If you liked this episode, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons for me, and stay updated on our latest content for free. And most importantly, thank you for watching this week's episode of Blank Space, where my space is your space too. Good night, everybody.